Yeah, so not enough people are mad about the Epstein files um, because there's horrific things in there. I've just glanced at a few things, and they were enough to turn my stomach. And I don't even have kids, so I can't imagine people with children like they're still mad about ICE deporting people. And you know, in Chicago, they found that over 120 ICE agents are actually Israeli special forces. Like, yeah, yeah, no prior work history, all last names tied back to Israel. So, I mean, I think that they're trying to build like a secret police state, and they're going to start disappearing everybody that doesn't agree, like not just immigrants.
That has me rethinking my whole, avid support for Homeland Security.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that it's all distraction because they're trying to destroy the old system and bring in this global government. So, like, while we're chasing our tails and watching sports ball and arguing with each other about whose status is legal here in the states, like, and does it matter, like, and all that stuff, like, they're going to pull the carpet out from underneath us. Like, oh yeah, no, you can't. I heard that in July of this year, there's a certain financial institution called like I don't know if it's Fed Now or something, but it's going to be the intermediary between all transactions like Venmo and PayPal, and so your bank account is going to be go through that and then towards its final destination, so they can screen whatever you're buying and like just deny your sales if you're trying to buy a gun or whatever. Like they don't like you purchasing, or if you're just outspoken online, eventually they'll just turn off your bank account.
Yeah, and this is kind of why, because of my experience having um uh been involved in a federal investigation where I took a plea deal to avoid jail time, is that I have to be really careful. I probably shouldn't have been speaking the way I was before that incident. But now it's like I have to make sure that because I just assume that every communication comes through some algorithm. We talked about before we did the last podcast how you have to use certain words that don't um, trigger the 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 algorithm to pick it up because then you will become more on the radar or you'll have your videos throttled. I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm almost in the fortunate position where I do only have like 47 subscribers on here, and I'm probably going to have even fewer viewers now that someone will no longer be on the channel, right?
Right.
So, like as much as I would love it to grow, I'd also like to it eventually be a thing where it's I send it to people through an email and it's not even, listed on the public, right? But I figure put the right things in the hashtags and enough people who want to see it will see it. But the surveillance state is here. Whenever we started having them install Ring doorbells in our house, whenever we, um, even the concept of a credit score, right? Like
Yeah.
we critique the Chinese for having a social credit score. What do we think a credit score is? Like someone can arbitrarily go in there and mess up your entire life. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's just a financial judgment system basically, because like some jobs, I didn't even know this, but some jobs check your credit score before they even consider you for being hired,
Oh,
which is insane. Because
when
isn't the
when
whole plan to get a good paying job so you can get better credit? It's a catch 22. It's
you can fill a background check for the U.S. government, when uh, I won't say his name, but one of the few people that I worked with in the federal government that I absolutely and like really like this dude and have nothing against him, just your standard good dude. Um, he had to fill out an entire form to explain debt he had incurred, and it just came from them running the credit score when he was getting his secret background check done. So he was still on probation, and luckily he was able to prove that he had paid off these debts just so he could pass his background check. And like you said, wasn't the point of him having the job so he could pay off those debts? So
yeah.
yeah.
It's all a racket.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
and
all a racket.
yeah. So, I mean, like, just speaking about the Epstein stuff, you and I briefly on a phone call had talked about how like the Pizzagate stuff has been proven real. We were going to do a podcast about that, but now it's out there. We kind of don't need to. And it was interesting. I was listening to Tucker Carlson talk about how he was one of the same people who laughed off the Pizzagate thing as some fringe conspiracy theory, and he's willing to admit, and this is something not many people are willing to do, is they're willing to admit I was wrong, right? Um, Whenever that stuff was happening, I had a friend who was dealing with that sort of stuff. He was a victim of extremely brutal sexual abuse as a child. And people who had been victims started reaching out to him and telling him, yo, the Pizzagate stuff is real. This is really in our government. And now she's a really good follow for everything Epstein, but the journalist Hera Palmieri, she really gets in deeply into the stuff. And I feel like she has such a comprehensive study of everything that's happened with the Epstein files for you and I to sort of go over it when I could just say, watch your podcast instead. And as far as the Epstein stuff goes, it's all on the surface. We know who's doing it, but it's like people are afraid of being given a term anti something by acknowledging where it probably originates, right?
Yeah, anti-Samsonite.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the sad part is that the corruption goes so high up that nothing is going to be done. Really, I mean, they're going to throw certain people under the bus that they want under the bus, but they're not going to, because the judges, the law enforcement, like everybody's complicit in trafficking children. Like I've seen independent journalists go into small town America and call the police and be like, "Hey, this house over here has a lot of weird stuff going on," and they're like, "Well, what do you want us to do about it?" Like go investigate, like do your job, and nothing really comes of it, and it's sick because like I've heard of people having their kids taken away by the state because they're persistent about exposing stuff, so they got harassed by law enforcement and judges and lawyers to the point where they had to relocate states, and then they were deemed an unfit parent because they didn't feel that person was a good mentor for their own child, and they just end up trafficking the kids. Like a lot of the cases, there's actually an incentive for states to keep children out of their own homes. They get like $150,000 per child to keep them in the system and sending them to foster homes or not connecting them with families, which is disgusting.
Yeah, there's a whole domino effect from this. And it also makes you question. You're like, why children? Why mostly white and blonde-haired children? And I think it really dives deep into this sort of psychosexual thing that people have whenever they can't push their limits anymore legally. It's, oh, I can date this 18-year-old who, let's say, has a juvenile face. She's 18, but she looks 13, right? Like so some of those women, they're in their mid 20s and they get mistaken for teenagers. But fetish can only be met so much. And I think for people who want to keep pushing their boundaries and pushing, and they don't have the restraint of, say, the only religion that actually says to take care of children, just Christianity. The other ones justify sex all the way like as young as 6. It's actually in their documents, right?
Yeah,
You and I are the only religion that actually seeks to protect children. And I think and even though there are people within those religions who abuse that, admittedly, both evangelical and Catholic, um, if we could put them in a wood chipper and get away with it, we would. Whereas non-Christians often find a way to justify it.
yeah, it's really gross. Like you know how they added those pink and blue and white stripes to the LGBTQ alphabet clan flag, and then just I've even talked to people in that community, and like the ones that are a little off kilter, the ones that are trans or whatever, just a little confused, they they kind of justify it. They're like, oh, it just it's about the innocence of children. It's like no, 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 no. You got drag queens going to little kids schools or public venues, and little kids are putting dollar bills in their underwear, and they're read story time with some dude that looks like uh RuPaul or something. Like it's weird. It's like, and a lot of it is like single moms that are showing up to these venues with their kids because they're lost in the sauce because there's no strong male role model in their life to kind of steer them the right way. And
Yeah,
now if you speak up about masculine and the feminine being the yin yang that it should be, you're labeled a misogynist and a hater and all this stuff. When it's like just all about balance, checks and balances.
yeah, and as society steers more pornographic, I don't know. I I never heard about the size and shape of someone's genitalia growing up unless it was guys dogging each other, you know what I mean? And now that's
Yeah,
a regular part of conversation on um, television that's shown when kids are still awake, and you can try to shield it to them, this is why, parents have to sometimes stop doom scrolling and actually pay attention to what their kids are watching, right? Uh, but you have talked about yeah, so you do think the Epstein stuff is a distraction. And what I find interesting about you making that comment is I am now on Blue Sky, which is where all the libs went after Elon Musk bought X or bought Twitter, changed it to X. I swear, man, I go through the Discover tab and it is like the Epstein files, the Epstein files. It's like you guys said nothing about the Epstein files the entire time that first of all, Trump was in office the first time. Second of all, the entire Biden administration. And they're like, oh, well, Trump said, promised that he would open them up. And so now they want to challenge it. What's going to happen when they just unredact every single thing and we're going to find that direct relation to Mossad? And that's why there are many names that are not victims blurred out. Now we have proof. We have seen enough of it to know there are direct ties to the government of Israel.
yeah. Somebody made a connection with the timestamps and you know uh, position physically of certain persons in the world between Epstein and allegedly Netanyahu, talking about, oh, I love that torture video. And then Yahoo, he's like, "Oh, I'm in China next week," and then they looked it up, and like he was in
It was in
China that
China.
week. And
Yep.
yeah, and it's like, I mean, Bondi wasn't wrong when she was like, if we let it all out, like the whole world will collapse. But I think it needs to, like, because this is just immoral across the board. Like every single thing about this stuff is wrong, like on every level.
And yeah, and we're talking about an immoral nation that has an immoral government and um sanctifies immorality, right? Like
Yeah,
and I hope I can say this without coming across as um anti whatever. My Jewish friends I went to college with, my Jewish friends I grew up with, I don't think a single one has gone on kibbutz. I learned from a liberal Jewish friend in college what was wrong with Zionism. He was the one that said, I am vehemently anti-Zionist. I think Israel is actually evil, and I am Jewish blood, and I will never recognize that as my country. I will not have a dual citizenship. I don't want to go there. And then he started listening. He goes, I think we're in Iraq because of Israel. He started listing. He says, I think the first Gulf War was because of Israel. And there was that part of me that was like, oh, this guy's just, 'cause he's an admitted Marxist, right? I said, oh, he's just a commie. He's just anti-America. Israel is our greatest ally. And I don't want this to turn into an anti-Israel thing, even though I admittedly am pro-Jew, anti-Israeli, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right. Not to say that I wouldn't be friends with someone from Israel or whatever, because maybe they got out for certain reasons. But we are dealing with a society that, as we saw in the emails, regards us as cattle. Um, we are dealing with a society that doesn't have the moral restraints, that is willing to say, politician A, I'm going to give you 16-year-old and no strings attached. But a year later, I'm going to say, you need to approve funding or a video may or may not leak. That, and we aren't the only, or they aren't the only country to ever do this. Like the CIA does this, the KGB did it. You know, all intelligence agencies like to honeypot you so they can have something against you. And you're right. They unredact everything. We're going to see how many countries are involved in this honeypot.
Yeah. I mean, it goes so far back, like the juice. They started the KGB. Like they started most of the intelligence communities across the globe because after the Bolshevik Revolution and World War II and the Cold War, they still had certain ties to the money, and then they just blackmailed their way through everything.
Yeah. You know, people try to um, label the Bolshevik Revolution as just like it was, long nose, grubby fingers rubbing their hands, right? But and because I was like, I wanted to dismiss this. I wanted to be like, this is bullcrap. People blame the Bolshevik Revolution on Jews. This is just another scapegoat. And then the response I got is that there is an overrepresentation within the Bolsheviks. It wasn't entirely, but
Right.
it was something like at the time in Russia, it was less than 1% of people were of the Jewish religion or Jewish ethnicity. Uh, but among the Bolsheviks, I think it was something like 5% were represented. And I don't want this, like I said, I don't want this to become a Jew bashing thing.
Mhm.
But you have to ask yourself, what about Bolshevism? What about Marxism did appeal to that 5%? And I think it had to do with, going back on it, either an antipathy or outright hatred towards the morality that is in Christendom. And if you look at Tsar Nicholas II, it was a Christian kingdom, and so whether it was perceived or real, there are some people that probably saw that as oppressive to them because they did not have a homeland at the time. They did not have control, So I definitely don't want it to be I never want to feel like, oh, blame Jews for everything wrong in the world.
Right.
But we have to look at it realistically and the fact that currently uh, and historically, um, you don't, as a people, keep getting kicked out of countries um, for no reason, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you listen to this is gonna sound insane, but they never really translated any of Hitler's speeches when we were growing up in school to like see what he was actually saying, and he was spot on because he rebuilt Germany because their economy was crap. Yeah, it became socialist, but everybody had a place to live. Everyone had a working wage. Everyone had like free time for their families, and they like the Jewish nation, like the global nation, declared war on Germany in the 30s, and and then all hell broke loose after that. But they don't worship like a moral god. Like they worship Baal, and they believe in child sacrifice, like the
So
Zionists.
Yes, yes, and I think it's important to separate like uh my few pals from college who have Jewish ethnicity but have nothing to do with engaging with the Talmud. In
Right.
fact, in fact, it's kind of funny. Just as a side note, one of those friends, uh, their entire family is Christian now, which I find kind of funny. I never saw that coming, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and it's a funny story. I'll tell you offline. Uh, but but you you have this thing where, like you said, even if they pretend to worship the Abrahamic God, then a lot of their sacred text, which is the Talmud, is saying that our Lord and Savior was a charlatan and is burning in excrement in hell. So
Yeah.
we have every right to look at, like, say, an Orthodox or Hasidic who spits on Christians and be like, you are a jerk. Your religion does not accept you from this. And I think, and I'm sure you probably feel this way also, uh, whenever someone says these are the chosen people. I don't know if you listened to the Huckabee Tucker Carlson podcast. Mike Huckabee just like, this is a learned man, a man who used to teach people, and it's like that. But my Bible tells me they're chosen. It's like, did you actually read the New Testament? You know, like like Christ is Israel. Israel is not some nation that was founded in 1948, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild, like the perversion of like the source materials and all that stuff. But I mean, years ago I brought up the similarities between like putting your screaming child on Santa Claus's lap in the mall to offering up a Moloch to Baal because it's just a dude sitting in a chair, kind of like an altar, and your kid's screaming in terror as you put him on there, like, "Oh, tell him Santa Claus what you wanted for Christmas," and if you rearrange the letters in Santa, it's Satan. Like,
yeah, yeah.
so I mean, like it's there's a lot of similarities between that. Like I think it might be a joke, like something that somebody made up on the other side. It was just like, oh, let's see what we can make them do with this little tradition, and just laugh all the way. Like
It's like
the
norm.
guy,
It's like because I guess it was at the it was towards the end of the 18th century where they started depicting uh Saint Nicholas as Santa Claus or Santa Claus, and then he started. Oh, suddenly he's wearing either green or red outfit. He's a jolly old elf, and it is a fairly Victorian era invention. Um, so I mean,
it's a little weird. Yeah, the guy, big old fat guy, sneaks into your house at night, like brings you gifts.
and he's eating my food.
Yeah, sneak. He's got the munchies, getting high with Rudolph.
Yeah, yeah. So so I also think, I mean, if you want to tie the invasion of Venezuela, if you want to tie the now they're talking about bombing Iran, we still have friends in the military, right? Despite us having gotten out a long time ago, uh, you know, we still have friends, and if they're not active, they're reserved, or they're healthy enough or recently out enough to be called back, or just the fact that like they served, the guys who were in were serving, and we served. We have that connection. We can look back now and realize we lost friends. Too many, because there is a country that um, doesn't even like us, right? The only thing they like is the money and the ability for their people to have dual citizenship. That's the only thing they like about us, and they like I, like I said, they like some of the underage women here to use for their honeypots. Okay, but we realize now it's like, oh, I went there in your case, or our friends died there because a certain country said, do this, or photos of you begging kids are going to come out. Like, how disgusting is that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the ultimate deception. Like that's what they're good at is just deceiving and lying and manipulating the truths and buying their way into positions that are able to manipulate the course of history, really. I
Mm.
mean, how long were we told what went on during the alleged Holocaust? And now we're finding out that there's overwhelming evidence that it was a massive lie just to make people sympathetic and not question anything. It's like, oh, if you questioned it, you're a Nazi. You're, yeah,
Yeah, and here's what I would say. I would say if if the Nazis had just expelled Jewish people, um, would we have all this? I can just dismiss anything you say as a Nazi. Oh, you're a Nazi. You're a Nazi. You're a Nazi. It's like at this point, it's lost its power. First of all, but had they like the world would probably be better off if Hitler has said, "Don't you guys do anything to these guys. We're going to put them on trains and we're going to send them to the Middle East and they can figure it out." And England, if you want to give them that land, fine. But as you said, there were machinations going on behind the scene that we might never know. And because if anyone did dig it up, just like same thing with this Pizzagate, someone would dismiss it as a complete lie, right? Even if we found like what was really like, let's say for example, right? Because there are people who cling on to the number of 271,000. They're like, that's how many people died in the Holocaust. Let's say for the sake of argument, that's accurate. It would still be criminal that that happened. Like,
yeah,
the answer to people doing things you don't like is not to gas them or murder them or, as some people theorize, um, them die of typhoid because they're malnourished, etc. So even if it was 271, um, which if it is, it is. It's still a genocide, right? But whenever every person you meet says they had a grandparent die there,
hmm
and, I'm like, or oh, my uncle or so and so or my great grandma, it's like literally all of you.
yeah, right.
None of your ancestors were living there before, before World War II. Like you're not like a third or fourth generation American, you know. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's a little weird. I get that sometimes too. I mean, run into the random person. It's like, oh, my great grandmother, because was trying to have this conversation with people, and they're like, oh, my great grandmother has the tattoos, and I'm like, well, she survived. One, I mean, the Germans operated primarily labor camps, and gassing was just out of the question because it's dangerous for everybody. Like using Zyklon B, just cyanide gas for the the doors at Auschwitz had wooden doors. Like that's not going to keep gas out. And like the logistics is just crazy. And there wasn't even 6 million Jews in Europe at that point at
well,
all.
I see. I've read through other sources that there were, uh, but once again we go back to who is controlling the sources, who
Yeah,
is writing stuff after the fact. And I think the 271,000 comes from something said during the Nuremberg trials, but anyway, whether it's
I heard
270, wait, go ahead.
I heard that the 271 number uh, was like total casualties, like in prison camps, and like 25% of it was maybe Jewish. We don't know. We weren't there. So, and but
Yeah,
people have gone back and looked for mass graves. No, no mass graves. None of the furnaces were operational for the crematoriums. None of those were operational. And a lot of the casualties happened towards the end of the war when all the infrastructure was bombed by the Allies, like the railways and the roads, because they couldn't get food in. And then the Germans like picked up and left and just left people to starve, and they
yeah.
couldn't take care of anybody.
I mean,
But they had pools. They had like soccer fields and pools and like
I mean, but but just like playing devil's advocate here, you also have to admit that both sides did have propaganda. And
Of course, yeah,
and and am I open to the idea that it was 271,000? Yes. Am I
yeah,
open to the idea that it was more than 6 million? Because now they say, oh, it was 9 million total if you include the Romani and gays and some Catholics. Sure, that may have happened. But if that's your license to shut down speech in the
right,
future because it's something that happened um, 40 years or 30 something years before either of us were born, it's like it doesn't give you license today that if we say the nation of Israel, not Jewish people, but the nation of Israel, which is founded by mostly former Ashkenazi Jewish people that have no blood ties to the homeland, and you can convert into being Jewish, and then you somehow now have this land that was given to you. You didn't conquer it. Before this nation, you were known as a nomadic people with no nation. Why am I supposed to ensure that your nation exists? And why do you get to run schemes, whether it's pharmaceuticals, and we're talking about the upper, the wealthy people. We're not talking about your guy who's like digging ditches in Israel.
right.
Why are you then allowed to use your intelligence resources to cause distractions in a country? And I'm just supposed to be like, I fear saying Israelis are bad because I might get canceled.
Right. I mean, even in Florida, Randy Fine, that upstanding citizen that represents their government down there, not only got caught illegally voting during a session, like he was running around pressing the buttons for people who weren't even there, but he also introduced a bill in Florida where you can get up to 5 years in prison for quote unquote anti-septic speech.
And Tim, I would ask you at what point, I mean, because there are people who might watch this conversation and assume that, I mean, heck, man, I'm 8% Sephardic Jewish. If I were like somehow some huge anti-Semite, what am I going to do? Cut off my hand or my arm so there's only 92% of me left?
Right. I mean, even that term is used as a weapon because
Yeah,
it's not even really what it means. Like, it
yeah.
doesn't mean that you hate Jews. It just means, I mean, isn't Semitic people like people that speak Hebrew or Arabic?
It's the descendants of Shem, who was one of was it Noah's sons, right? Um, and this is terrible. I'm actually going through like a whole biblical thing right now. So if it's not Noah, I apologize. Um, Noah or Abraham, one of those guys who's important to the history of the Bible. So it refers to people in what we now call the Levant, right? And Turkey. And Um, but for some reason, they decided to adopt the term. I actually read why a couple days ago, but I don't want to butcher it, so I won't try to get too much into it. Um, but are we not allowed to call people, or at least the higher echelon members of a society, out just because they happen to, have had a moil uh, slurping the pee-pee? You know?
I mean, I'm laughing, but that's kind of a disgusting practice
Yeah.
uh, that they do. And I don't understand that, like, logically, why. Um, and reports of babies being infected with herpes, and it's disgusting. But hey, that's their belief system.
Just
I
do it
don't
how
know.
just do it how the goys do, and they just cauterize it. Come on, man.
Yeah, or just not do it at all. Like,
There
because
you go.
isn't it the mark of a slave?
I mean, I feel thankful they never got to me.
Yeah, that's funny. We lived together, and I never noticed. Oh man,
It's not like you and I were just walking around buck naked all day in the barracks,
yeah.
right?
Hey man, have you seen my PT gear?
Hey, bro, hold up. Let me slap this down. There's your shirt.
Whole shirt in there. Yeah. Oh man.
And you're like, Rick, this is a 1-3 t-shirt, not a 3-3 t-shirt. Where did you even get this?
I got drunk and ended up in the laundry room in a different
Yeah,
barracks.
yeah,
Oh man. Yeah, there's wacky stuff going on. But yeah, ultimately, as we people discuss this that have, I mean, it's amazing to me how many people don't even want to discuss it, and that they're either afraid to or afraid of having their reality shattered, like their little safety bubble. Because I had mine shattered when I got out and started asking questions, and it was real depressing for a little while because I was like, man, you mean almost everything is a lie? Like I was just like, wow.
well,
And then
and sorry,
you
sorry, go
come to
ahead.
terms with it. Yeah, I mean, you kind of come to terms with it and move on. But there's just more and more and more. Than the further you dig.
Yeah, so what's interesting is at one point I actually was um admittedly somewhat anti-Semitic. Um and I worked on trying to realize that these are humans. Um and every Jewish person I meet is a potential Christian. And and I know that's a real optimistic way to look at it, but I am an optimist. And I do believe that um a Jewish person who lives in my neighborhood, right? I I believe that the Holy Spirit could find him also. I hate this idea of like a blood libel and you're automatically condemned to hell because you didn't follow Christ. There's a reason that we have that like as an evangelical, right? You are telling people about the good news. And I don't want to ever believe that like anyone can't find that. Like, I mean, even freaking, people talk about Harvey Weinstein. He was a scapegoat for a lot of stuff, right? And the best part is, I don't think Harvey Weinstein raped a single woman, but he was the he was the ugly Jewish guy, and people wanted to manifest their hate on him. But I believe in someone like that, someone who's a complete womanizer, a complete degenerate. I believe he could go to prison and find God. You want to know why? Or find Jesus. The son of Sam is a Christian. So,
I mean, yeah, I mean, there's always like hope and second chances. Like a lot of times people mess up real bad, and it turns their life around for the better, and they become an even better person than they were before,
oh yeah, yeah.
for sure.
I had some this is a couple years ago whenever I was really working on being like just being open-minded to everyone having a path towards that. I got in an argument with some Jewish guy on Twitter. And he's like, "Yeah, we know we're better than you." And I was like, "Listen, man," I go, everyone's equal in the eyes of God. And I told him, "And hey, man, I love you." And he's
Yeah,
like, "Well," he's like, "I'm better than you. Screw you. I don't care about your love." I go, "I don't care if you care about my love." I go, "I would never justify anyone harming you. I would never justify Holocaust or genocide or whatever. I hope that one day you wake up and like it's just so funny. Like he later messages me and is like, "Hey man, I'm really sorry for the way I talked to you." And I think sometimes people got to see that, right? They got to see like, oh, um, Christianity really is about like forgiveness. Um, but at the same time, uh, both Jew and Gentile messing with the kids, wood chipper. Like God forgive you.
yeah. Oh yeah. Anybody who does that, it's immediate. Just walk into the ocean. It's like
Yeah.
it's just keep walking, because
Or-
it's you're screwing with the most pure life energy on the planet,
Yeah.
like, and you're screwing that person up for generations, and it might continue that generational cycle too, like that
It
cycle of
does.
trauma and violence.
If
And
if
I've
you
seen it.
yeah, and if you look at most people who are um, molesters, they were molested.
Yeah,
So it starts
a
somewhere.
lot.
So
Yeah, it takes like.
so I wanted to get and now that you and I have clearly displayed our Third Reich credentials. I am. I mean, no matter what we say after this fact, there's going to be people who think like, "Man, I wouldn't be around those two goyim if I was Jewish," which
Right.
it could be further from the truth, right? Um,
I'm gonna eat my bacon in front of them.
so what are some of the other things that you think the Epstein thing is distracting from? Because that was sort of the we were talking about beforehand.
Um, a lot of things really. Just passing of more laws and these giant bills that nobody really reads, but there's stuff hidden in there where they just strip your rights away, your natural given rights. Not never mind the Constitution. Like they don't want you to have guns. They don't want you to homestead and grow your own healthy food. Like there's in Virginia. Did you see all the weird taxes they just put in?
Yeah, and how there is the person who proposed the law that would essentially ban semi-automatic firearms was not even born in this country. And I have a problem with that. But yes. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy from Bangladesh.
Yeah. Maybe we
Yeah,
should have let you guys starve. So George Harrison can eat my dick. Yeah.
yeah. Oh man, yeah, but like, there's a tax on gym memberships. Like, what is that about? Like, oh, you want to go get healthy? Nah. You you want battery operated yard tools to trim your yard because your HOA says you have to have grass that's 6 inches or less. Like, tax.
So they're actually taxing gas powered like
Oh
mowers and stuff.
no, not gas. The electric ones. The
They're taxing the
battery
electric
operated.
ones.
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Firearms, ammunition. You can't have a gun with more than 10 rounds. Basically, any semi-automatic firearm, you can't
Yeah.
have it,
Yeah.
and that's felony. Massive amounts of charge. It's so stupid. It's like I don't understand, but then again, it's on paper, and I don't care what's written on paper because your God-given right is to be able to defend yourself and your property and your family
Yeah,
against whatever.
the Bill of Rights is not the Bill of Laws. It's the Bill of Rights. And like they said, given by God. And maybe that's part of it. Maybe maybe a lot of the things uh that they're trying to detract us from are to do with the what's the word I'm looking for? The canceling of godly or Christly things.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? They're trying to ban dogs in New York City. You can't walk your dog because dogs are dirty according to Islam.
Yeah.
And in England, I've seen them already start doing that. Like this lady was walking her dog down the street, and the cops were like, "You have to leave because dogs are offensive to Muslims." And she got mad. And the dog's on a leash, not bothering anybody. But then a crowd gathered, and the cops were like shoving this lady out of there. And she's like, "I'm just walking my dog." Yeah,
Yeah.
like, oh, dog's offensive. It's like, no, they're killing 3 million dogs right now in Morocco to make room for the Olympics or whatever the hell's going on over there.
And I tell you, it's not even supported by any holy book that any animal is unclean. I mean, if you go back to the Old Testament, they talk about a hoofed animal, but then I think it was in is it in Acts where they talk about no animal is considered unclean now. So, people talk about us keeping with the ancient laws or whatever. It's like, well, our laws were fulfilled through Christ and through the Acts and the founding of churches. They said the only thing you need is Christ, etc. And I wonder how many of these people who were involved in a lot of the malfeasance, be it big pharma, um, be it big tech. Uh, I wonder how many of them get like a sense of arousal out of knowing that we would rather latch on to things that are further from moral.
I don't know. Like, it's it's very strange. Like to me that even the Bible says like what's good is bad. What's good is going to become bad, and what's bad is going to become good. And I'm paraphrasing, but it's exactly what's happening, like with the perversion of everything. Like every other commercial is gay couples and medication and like weird. It's just like even the video games now, like a lot of them are super woke. And
Gosh,
there's a guy on YouTube. He probably like his Andy Pants Gaming,
I never heard of him.
and he just blasts all these companies for being gay and woke. Like he's like, oh yeah,
Relief to figure out I was trans. And it's worth it to look in the mirror today and see the man I am staring back.
he's like, oh yeah, that's what Call of Duty needs is a disabled black girl boss. Like, and one of the, I mean, which all the power to him, but like when they force that stuff in there, and then he shows pictures of the development teams, and it's like, there's no more guys working there. Like
Yeah,
the hardcore nerds that make the best video games don't want to work with them anymore because it's all woke.
yeah. I mean, and now Microsoft's new head person in charge is a woman who has no interest in video games, and she was an AI director previously. Um, and like clearly, you and I have some thoughts on conspiracy, right? Um,
Yeah,
they were theories; they've been proven facts. Uh, but what is the end goal? And I feel like the end goal, and we may even be giving into it right now for the first part of this conversation. I think their end goal is to say, hey, bigot, stop believing that and believe what we tell you.
yeah. I mean, with the AI, kids aren't even opening books anymore. They're just using Chat GPT to do all their work. They're not learning anything. And I believe all these AI programs and algorithms are going to mutate in real time to alter history, alter facts, just to be what the main narrative should be that the powers that be want people to be focused on versus what actually happened. It's like modern book burning, basically. Like,
Yeah, and you had talked about Palantir. Did you mention Palantir earlier, or the
yeah,
whole surveillance? Right. It's
yeah,
it's you turn on the news. This is one of the biggest things happening, right? Um, and all you're hearing about is Epstein this, Epstein that. But sure, these people absolutely need to go to jail, or worse, right? Um, and I don't care. I don't care about parties. If you were over there, I don't care about your nation of origin. I don't care if you're an evangelical, you know, devout Christian. If you were over on that island, you deserve what's coming to you. And it's going to be ultimately the wrath of the Lord, right?
yeah,
But but with this Palantir sort of stuff, it is being like sort of pushed to the side so we can be like, the first thing I saw, I didn't watch the State of the Union last night because um, I hear enough lies from my children during the day. Uh, but the first thing I said is he didn't mention Epstein once. It's like I said, suddenly they're obsessed with it, right? And I'm not saying to not care, but now it's like their thing. Oh, because he's on the list, he won't release it. It's like, no, because it would show that our own CIA and Mossad have been working together for decades, right?
yeah. I mean, it's right out of a sci-fi novel. I mean, I think they've been slowly desensitizing everybody with uh, sci-fi movies, zombie movies. You know, like a Minority Report. A lot of that stuff's coming true. Like
Pre-crime.
personalized ads. They're definitely starting to do pre-crime stuff with the Palantir and all the other AI databases that are connected to all the flock cameras all over the country that have been there forever. And everyone's like, "Oh, it's just a traffic camera." Like, they track you forever with those things, and putting in all the infrastructure during COVID with the 5G, 6G towers, and like who knows what that stuff does. Like, because they only use part of the nodes on those towers for the actual transmission and reception of cell phone information, and So when they turn them on, I think they might be a weapon. I don't know because a lot of I don't know
So
because
so
the certain frequencies can definitely mess with people,
I
and
mean
I've
I, I mean that there's whole discussions about how one football team has more injuries than the other, and they think it's because they're next to a like a power substation. Like this stuff affects us whether we realize it or not, you know?
yeah, electromagnetic radiation, and for like a lot of the people that had symptoms during COVID were very similar to radiation poisoning,
Mhm.
very similar. But
So
if you
so
talk
s-
about it, you're crazy.
oh yeah, I mean, but like I said, is whenever the whole Comet Pizza in DC was shot up back in the day, um, there are people who believe the man was hired by someone to go shoot it up, so they could dismiss it as crazy. So when they were talking about on their emails about grape soda and pizza, grape pizza. How was your pizza? How are your hot dogs? Right? Hot dogs and pizza, grape soda. It's like these are people who pay millions of dollars every year to make sure they don't die. And we really think they're having grape soda and pizza? Like, come on,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, it's all code words. Like that, a lot of this stuff is in plain sight. They just hide it. A lot of people just won't pay attention because they're hypnotized
Yeah.
by everything that they see. They're like, "Oh yeah, look at this commercial. That's so cool." It's like, I don't
Yeah.
know, man.
I mean, I definitely like my distractions, right? But and I think and I'm gonna make a video on this at some point about like the concept of bread and circuses and where it comes from and not so fast sort of thing. Like I do think it is good to have distractions, but I think people need to also have the like find the bandwidth, right? Like you have to have your bandwidth for work, for play, and for just philosophy, right? You know, things where you can doubt the narrative. So, but I do have another question for you as we sort of roll to a conclusion of this one. Right. Who do you think is benefiting most from the distraction, if the Epstein file is actually a distraction, who do you think is benefiting most from that?
All the bankers, government contractors, people putting in all this infrastructure, pharmaceutical companies, like like PepsiCo. Like nobody should eat anything that PepsiCo makes, like at all. And they own a lot of different companies. And all these companies are benefiting, like even with the tariffs. Like the tariffs got reversed, and the consumer is going to take the hit because
They're
all
going to drop
those
their prices.
corporations. No, they're not going to drop their prices, and they're all getting reimbursed for the tariffs. So they're
Yeah.
making out like bandits, and we're getting screwed. Like, I mean, oh, at least eggs aren't $10 a dozen anymore. Like, like at least gas isn't $5. Oh no.
It's like my gas is at $5, but everything else I have has had the travel tax or tariff tax put on it. So let's now do you th- do you agree that it's these companies run by bigwigs who it's a timing thing for them? Do you think they have involvement with the news media as far as when to inject some crap into their products, etc.?
Oh yeah. They use it as we're under total psychological operations, like at all times, 24/7, bombarded. Advertisements, perversion, like all the things, like just attack you all day, every day to try to beat you down and wither away your character. So you kind of just go with the flow, like, nah, I can't do anything about it. I'm just gonna, meh. I don't even want to talk about it with my friends. I just want to go watch sports ball and drink my beer and
Yeah.
watch some satanic shit on Netflix. you know, it's
You know, it's
fucking kid
it's
drag queen show. Yay.
it's funny. I tell people this, and I've been repeatedly called a liar because of this. Because people don't want to imagine you once had an addiction, but you stopped. But when I got married, I stopped watching smut.
Yeah.
I stopped engaging in it because I was like, sorry, my cat's being a weirdo. I said, I said, first and foremost, um, have an imagination. Um, second, if it's distracting from me creating a family, I probably don't need it. And third, it does sort of become a form of infidelity whenever you're looking at the actual biblical structure. And truth be told, I probably should have never watched it. But I really think they are using it to just create a whole economic force that needs it.
Oh yeah, it's its own sector of the economy right now. It's huge. Like, um, I mean, I used to watch a lot of it too, but I don't anymore because it just doesn't do any good. It's distracting, like, and it's getting more and more perverse. Like, even if you look at like normal, quote unquote normal stuff, they'll just throw in crazy stuff in there, and you're just like, what is this? Like, and there's a lot of it. Like,
So that happened to me whenever someone made the joke, hey stepbrother on something, and I had no clue what it was. And I go, hey stepbrother, what is that? What does that mean? And then I had to look it up, and as it turns out, I guess like 10 years ago, they started having like it was like a stepbrother and stepsister. Oh, I saw him naked, etc. Right? And when you want to think about the perversion in that and the people who are making that, they are trying to get to the most base and evil part of you, which is because whether, they say stepbrother, but what they're trying to imply is incest,
yeah,
whether it's technically or whatever. And I think if they can get people just distracted by that and not wanting to be active in society, they won't question anything. They're, being given their reward at the end of the video.
yeah, and it could be like the more like uh normie type blackmail thing because they could just pull up a list of your internet history and be like, "Oh, look, you were been a bad boy. You better give us what we want or act in this specific way, or you're not going to get to eat this month." Like, I could see them doing that with all the AI. They could just pull up all your internet history and be like, "Oh, you sure you want to talk smack about certain people?" Like,
Yeah.
I'd be like, "Yeah, yeah, I looked at all that stuff, and what?" Like, so what? Like, I'm not out here doing it, like, I'm not acting on it. It's just gross. It was a phase.
Yeah. And 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 I don't know about you. I don't think I saw a single piece of video pornography until I was like almost 20. And you think about now,
Really?
man. Yeah, I think it was 19 because it was my first year in the military. It was the first time I ever saw any of it. I already I already had been sexually active for several years at that point. So I was just like,
Right.
okay, all right. So I do think it was a crutch at one time called deployments, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you hear stories about guys who are like, it's hurting their marriage. Even when the wife says yes, they still need that, right? Um,
Yeah.
and I you think about like I guess nine is the average age that kids first see it now. And like how much is
Yeah.
that warping their brains? And once again, who benefits from these kids' brains being so warped? Because it's got to be more than just monetary, Like, do they have some sick
Uh,
evil fetish?
I think the people that are in charge of all this stuff they're really good at the long game. So they'll think generations down the road. That's what all these like Davos and um, what's that other meeting that goes on in Europe that nobody's allowed to go into, where they talk
G8.
about that, and it's the one that Luke Rutkowski used to go into all the time. Not Bilderberg.
Oh, build a
to
brick.
build a
Yeah,
brick.
yeah,
Yeah, where they discuss what they're going to do with the human race basically every year, and you're not allowed to be in there or have any press in there to kind of discuss like what or find out what they're planning to do with us because they all think that we're cattle. They're just going to
yeah,
keep doing it, but they play the long game, so uh, they've been doing this stuff for generations, like destroy the nuclear family, increase homosexuality, pervert everything, like make kids question their parents and their family structure from public schools when they go home. Like, mom, dad, why do we do it like this? And they're teaching me about different genders at 6 years old. It's like there's only two. There's- like, how hard is that? Unless you're a snail or
Hey,
a
hey,
frog.
hey! Stop hate criming, Tim.
Yeah, I hate snails.
All right. Well. On that note, we've just gone over an hour. Um, and I'll say thanks for watching, folks. And don't call the was it the ASPCA, the MLA, the oh
ADL.
ADL. Yeah, yeah. All right. Thanks for watching, folks.